TCGPlayer's 10% kickback sale just concluded, and now we're going to talk about how it affected the Magic market as a whole. We're going to be going through all the different cards that had major inventory decreases during the time of this sale to see what's being purchased, what's moving out of the market. And we had some cards hit some very crazy numbers that I have never seen before while doing this series. There's been a lot of movement in the market over the past few days. It's crazy how a single website having a sale can cause so many cards to just increase in price and potentially sell out of the market completely in a not super long time frame. A lot of cards were purchased during this sale. Before we hop into all of that though, please remember hit the subscribe button if you're not subscribed already, and let me know in the comment section how you like this series and if there's anything that you'd like me to change going forward in this series. I'd also like to thank Arcane Assets for sponsoring this series. Arcane Assets is a great way to test your skills in the Magic market, where you can mock, buy, and sell cards as they move up and down in the market, at pretty much like the stock market. It's a lot of fun and they have prize support. So if you want to prove your knowledge on MTG finance and maybe win a free booster box, check out Arcane Assets. Link in description to this video. We've got a lot of cards to talk about today, so let's just get this going. First off, we have a Cube All-Star in Broadside Bombardiers, which saw a 42% decrease in listings, and the extended art version saw over a 20% decrease in listings. You can still get either version in the $9 to $10 range. Price hasn't changed very much, but it did move drastically during these last few days. One trend that I did notice is there's a lot of cards that are just good in Cube that saw a lot of movement, and so I feel like a lot of people just kind of waited until this sale to pick up singles for their cubes or to finally build their cubes or unproxy their cubes, because there's just a lot of cube cards that saw a lot of movement. Planar Nexus saw about a $1 jump up in price. It's up to $4 now. On the back of a 40% decrease in listings. It's super unique and it's honestly one of my favorite cards that has been printed recently. It's just super fun and has really cool interactions. So not surprised to see some movement here. Orochi Soul Reaver. I mentioned this card months ago in one of these videos where it saw a lot of movement out of nowhere, and it's happened again for both the extended art version and the regular, especially the extended art version. Neither version's really changed much in price. You can get either one at $3, but the extended art version saw a 36% decrease in listings while the regular at 28%. I guess Poison is back on the menu. People are playing Infect again because Phyresis Outbreak just saw a large decrease in listings. As a matter of fact, it was back-to-back weeks of decreases in listings, and the price really hasn't changed much. It's gone from $3 to $4, but last time I did this, it had a 19% decrease in listings, and now we're at a 35% decrease. So this card is moving, and it was moving before the sale. It didn't see as drastic of a jump as some of the other cards I will be mentioning in this video, but it still saw a good size jump and consistent movement. The Reaver Cleaver has been seeing some movement. It's a pretty cool card in both Captain America and inside Iron Man, and I feel like a lot of cards that are going into those decks were purchased over these last few days because you'll see a trend there as well, where some of those cards saw an increase in sales, which is kind of crazy because a lot of them were moving really fast beforehand. Oh, bye Cruz. But it's still a $6 card, and it just saw between like a 24 and 35% decrease in listings depending on which version you're looking at. Card's really good, and it recently had a reprint, so it's starting to rebound from that reprint. We have another really funky land that has had multiple weeks of decreases in listings for both versions. Another card I really like. I just love lands, especially the cool, fun ones, like Urza's Workshop. This card has already started seeing an uptick in price. The extended art went from $6 to $8 over the last 5 days, and the regular is up to $15 now after seeing a $5 increase. Both versions saw about a 20% decrease in listings the last time I ran stats, and most recently about a 30% decrease in listings. So it is continued movement, and it was movement before the sale actually started. However, it was exemplified during the sale, and this card's really starting to move out of the market and move up in price. Those aren't the only two fun, neat lands that are moving up in price from that specific precon. We got a couple more to talk about too. Lazotep Query, for one, at about $1.50, but it just saw back-to-back weeks of decreased listings, 16 and 32%. So that's a really cheap card for how much people want it. It's getting bought up pretty quick. About 50 listings have left the market since Thanksgiving, which means at least 50 copies have sold. Similarly, you have Talon Gates of Madara, another land from that pre-con. It's like an $11 card, price hasn't changed much, and it just saw a pretty hefty decrease in listings, 29%. So very notable there. As I mentioned with Broadside Bombardiers, there were some cards that are specifically good in cube that kept showing up. Fourth Year Lingus is one of them, which saw a 23% decrease in listings, while also ticking up a little bit in price, going from like $5 to $7. I don't know why people all of a sudden want Lycia. Maybe it's because Edgar Markov is getting reprinted and they want Lycia for their vampire deck. But throughout the sale, Lycia saw a 41% decrease in listings. Only 34 listings remain on the market, which can get absorbed very quickly. So if you need a copy for a vampire deck you're working on, you might want to pick one up. And it will run you about $1 more than it would have been like a week ago. It's up to $4 now. Did you know the foil etched version of Kedis is up to $11 at this point in time? Not even a big increase since the last time I ran stats, up like $1.50. But that was brought about by a 39% decrease in listings, leaving just 17 on the market. Wand of Orcus is a card I completely forgot existed until I ran stats recently. I was like, oh yeah, this is kind of a cool card. I think I have a couple set aside that in case I wanted for decks, but I haven't used. Well, it's up to $10 now. Prior to Thanksgiving, it was about $7.50, and it just saw a big decrease in listings, especially for a card that hadn't seen much movement at all in recent times, dropping from 130 listings down to 84, a 35% decrease there. Another card people are buying for Edgar Markov nowadays is going to be cheaper and more accessible and going to build that deck is Blood Tribute. It's over a 30% decrease in listings, while actually going down a little bit in price. I mean, very marginal, like some change, pocket change is the difference, but it's still like a $2 to $2.50 card. So it's super cheap. If you want a copy and you're building Edgar, you should buy it sooner than later though, because it seems like a lot of people want this card for a new Edgar deck. Oddly enough, we saw a big decrease in listings for Dockside Extortionist. I was really surprised when this popped up, a 23% decrease for a card that's banned in the only format it was playable in. It's still like a $12 card at this point, which is crazy to say that Dockside's $12. This thing was like $100 previously, but it's seeing an uptick in sales. So I'm wondering if that's a sign of insider trading at all, and maybe it's going to be unbanned, but that's pure speculation. Next up, we have the Showcase Scrolls Sting. Saw almost a 50% decrease in listings. This card is actually really, really good in any deck that cares about tapping their commander. This is a very powerful card. Like in Cranko, I love it. It's good, and it should see a lot more play than it does, and this is the coolest version of the card. I think the colorless cards inside of that treatment look stunning, especially the foils. Love them a lot. It went up from $3 to $4 during this time frame, so still marginally inexpensive for the effect and the treatment. I mean, those Lord of the Rings special holiday edition boxes are almost like $2,000 now sealed, which is absurd. And it's the only way you can get this card outside of the 18 listings that remain on TCGPlayer. So if you want it, you need to buy it now. We saw back-to-back weeks of some Tiny Bones love. Tiny Bones Trinket Thief saw a 15% decrease in listings, followed by a whopping 40% decrease in listings. So a lot of people are buying Tiny Bones right now. You can still pick up copies for about $10, so that's nice. But it is moving out quickly, so if you're working on a discard deck that wants Tiny Bones, you might want to think about picking up a copy sooner than later. We saw a few reserve list cards that saw an unusually high rate of sales throughout this event. And the first one is Raphelos. This saw a lot of movement earlier this year due to unbanned speculation. It's a really powerful card. I could see it being unbanned, but at this point in time, there's no real evidence that it's happening anytime soon. But it did see a 33% decrease in listings. And the cheapest available copy went up about $6, so it is moving up a little bit in price too. Weirdly enough, Phyrexian Dreadnought saw a lot of movement and a lot of price movement. However, with the reserve list cards and the older stuff, the price movement changes are a little dicier. My system of actually gathering the stats isn't perfect. Occasionally, a damaged copy will alter the way the prices are because it didn't parse it correctly. However, a $34 increase is a pretty big jump, so I figured I'd mention that, especially because of the fact that it did see a 31% decrease in listings. Tombstone Stairwell is a very goofy card that saw about a $2 increase in price due to a 24% decrease in listings. It's at 16 bucks right now, and this is a card that whenever a new commander gets printed that, oh, this card would be good in the deck for, it gets speculated on hard. So it's a card that could easily jump up in price out of nowhere if something new gets printed that it works with. Sword of Cauldron has been seeing a lot of movement due to the change in combat rules, because you no longer need to assign lethal damage to a blocker, and Sword of Cauldron loves that. But that movement really cooled off recently until the sale, where an additional 29% of the listings left the market because a bunch of people decided, I'm going to pick it up now. The price moved up about $1, went from 11 to 12 bucks, so you can still pick up copies for around $12 at this point. Another one of the Marvel cards that has been driving prices, but not to the extent of like Captain America or Wolverine, is Storm. And Psychotic Fury is one of her pet cards. Disgusting in the deck, a cheap way to give Storm double strike. Double strike means double Storm. Amazing. Price hasn't changed much, it's about $1, but it did see a 21% decrease in listings. Ulvenwald Tracker, great Wolverine card, saw a 32% decrease in listings, with like a 50-cent price change, so negligible there. It's about $3 and an auto include in Wolverine. Another card I can only assume is moving due to Edgar Markov being reprinted and people wanting it in their vampire deck is Sorin Markov. It's up like $1.50. Price hasn't really changed much, but it is down 27% in listings. Font of Mythos had back-to-back weeks over 20% decreases in listings, most recently 22, and it's up like $1 over the last 2 weeks, so not too crazy there. But it's a great card in like Bumbleflower or any group Huggy style deck. So it's a card that without a reprint will continue to go up in price and have big spikes whenever we get a new group hug commander that people enjoy. Archangel Athune is a powerhouse in Commander, a great combo card, really good in any life gain deck, like one of the best cards for a life gain deck, just make everything into an Ajani's Pridemate. That's like the only thing that life gain players care about, is making their little creatures bigger by gaining life. That's like what they like to do. Perfect card for that deck. And it's been a while since we've seen a reprint. It's up to almost $30 now, and it just saw a 24% decrease in listings. Hammer of Nazan, another great card for Captain America. Still about $8, saw another increase in sales. In fact, a 52% decrease in listings. This is a card that's had week after week of decreases in listings. This thing has just been slowly draining out of the market, but not that slowly considering it's been like 20%, 20%, 20%, 20%, 50%. Like, this thing is moving pretty fast now. A huge catalyst thanks to both Captain America and this sale. Great inside any Voltron deck, so I would really recommend grabbing a copy while you can. This next card almost doubled in price, but it was only like $1.50 to begin with, so it's only like $3 now, and that's Herald of Ilharg. This card's from the Clue set, if you remember that. The little Ravnica Clue edition. So it doesn't have a lot of supply, and it's seeing a lot of movement. So if demand goes up, and it's a card that has a low supply to begin with, you can do the math, connect those two dots. In fact, it had a 44% decrease in listings over the last 5 days, and prior to that, it was an 18% decrease in listings. So this thing is actually moving fast, and it started before the sale. It's a perfect storm for a big price jump. We have another equipment card here, and it's a modern powerhouse with Cauldron Complete. It's still under $4 a copy, but we just saw a 37% decrease in listings. It looks like there's some people finishing out their Godzilla collection all the way back from Ikoria, because there's a couple cards that saw a pretty decent increase in movement over the last few days from that set. One of them being Mechagodzilla, which I don't know if you knew this, but it's like a $9 card now. It didn't go up much in price during these last 5 days. It's just been like an $8 or $9 card. And that's on the back of a 28% decrease in listings. And Ghidorah, which didn't see much price change. It's $22 right now, but it saw a 21% decrease in listings. Let's move on to some standard cards. We've got a lot of standard cards that have really just been flying out of the market recently. Standard's becoming super popular again, and it's driving prices. Torch the Tower, just like a bulky common removal spell, just saw a 50% decrease in listings. Exactly 100 listings less than it was prior to the sale. You can still pick up copies for less than 3/4, but if you're playing red and standard, you're probably going to want this card, and it's just really good inside of a couple of different archetypes. Up the Beanstalk, really fun card here. People love it for Commander too. Like, this is a multi-format star, and it's like $3 right now. A little bit of a price increase there, like $1 or $2, but it saw back-to-back decreases in listings, and most recently a 38% decrease in listings. I believe I saw a deck that's playing it in standard right now that's using like Valley Flood Caller as a combo piece. Not positive on that. I should have double checked that before I started recording this, but here we are. Nissa Ascendant Animist has gone up about $1, and that's on the back of a 35% decrease in listings. I'm not positive if this one's actually seeing standard play. I believe it is, but I don't think it's like a 4 of in anything. But it's more of a commander card, and I'm seeing a lot of play in cube too. I guess people are playing white more in standard because Steel Seraph saw a good decrease in listings, 25%, nothing to scoff at there. Still under $2 a copy, which is great. It's like $1.50. Virtue of Loyalty is a powerhouse in the right deck, and it looks like people are picking up their copies now because it just had a 32% decrease in listings. You can still buy your copies for about $6, and there's a decent amount on the market at this point in time, so it's not one I'm like rushing out the door to go and buy. However, it is one to keep an eye on, especially if you do want copies and you're kind of putting it off. Maybe now's the time that you pick those up. Kaido Bane of Nightmares must be seeing a lot of standard play right now because every version of Kaido had a big decrease in listings. In fact, the smallest decrease was 33%, and that was the textured foil. The base version had a 69% decrease in listings. Nice. And both the showcase and the borderless saw about a 50% decrease. You can pick up copies now on the low end, $8. You got the middle end with the borderless at $14, and then the textured foil at almost $50. That one actually jumped up a bit in price because it was $40. As I said before, life gain players love their life gain cards that make their things bigger. Righteous Valkyrie is one of those cards, and it saw a huge uptick in sales. Back-to-back weeks of massive decreases, 27% previously, and that was followed up by, most recently, a 63% decrease in listings. This is for the Foundations version though. So I will note, I haven't seen a ton of movement on the other versions yet. They will end up following suit, I would assume at some point, if demand really is this high. Unless for some reason people just want the Foundations one that much more, which doesn't really make sense. People tend to use the TCGPlayer kickback sales to buy the Grail cards they've been wanting recently, the more expensive ones, so that they can get a big discount back later. So those include most recently the raised foils from Bloomborough and the mana foils from Foundations. There was a lot of movement on both of those types of printings. As you can see here, we have a couple of raised foils I wanted to mention that had over 50% decreases in listings while being expensive cards to begin with. People are actually still buying these, and as you can see with Bumbleflower, the price is going upwards. That's up to $300. As for the mana foils, there's a couple cards here that you can see that have a 40% decrease in listings. Something to note though about the Mossborn Hydra is that the base version also saw a big decrease in listings of 38%. So that's actually a card that's a legit one that's moving out of the market, not just a, oh, I want the expensive version, so I'm gonna go buy the expensive version now. Both the cheap version and the expensive version were getting purchased during this time frame. And there's about a $20 difference between the Manifoil version and the regular version, and the regular version's about $1.50. My boy Shrufus saw a 50% decrease in listings. I still need to pick up my copy. I love this card, he's amazing. And I'm running out of time. I have to purchase this sooner than later because it already has started to go up in price. It's almost $17 now. And the Jumpstart booster packs are not the easiest things to get, and there's a lot of high value cards in there, so people are going to be buying those up, and those boxes are going to get more and more expensive. Sire of Seven Deaths went up about $4, up to $21 at this point in time, on the back of a 47% decrease in listings. People are really liking this card, Eldrazi tax and all. All versions of Bloodthirsty Conqueror saw about a 40% decrease in listings. This card is a powerhouse. It's exquisite blood on the creature, which is the first time we've gotten it, and the second time we've gotten that effect, period. So it makes sense considering exquisite blood is also like a $25 card. The cheapest version here is about 22 bucks. And with the amount of standard play it's getting, I can see that going higher. Sheltered by Ghosts just saw a $3 bump up in price, up to $5, so it more than doubled its price over the last 5 days, after back-to-back weeks of 28% decreases in listings and then 44%. So this is a card that is really selling hard. It's a very good card too. It should be selling out of the market. This thing is a house in any Enchantress deck. Enduring Vitality is seeing play in standard in the Valley Flood Caller combo deck. But you can tap them for mana with Enduring Vitality, and then you cast something and you untap them, and you just do the thingy over and over and over again. Really cool. I like that. Seems like a really fun deck. But it did cause a 44% decrease in Enduring Vitality listings, and it went up about $1 up to $5. The anime Kodama of the West Tree saw 40% decrease in listings, and up like $5 up to almost 18 bucks. Rat Colony, the white border one from Mystery Boosters, just saw a big decrease in listings. That could easily be attributed though, based on the numbers, going from 38 copies down to 22 copies. It could just be somebody finishing up their white bordered Rat Colony deck and buying the rest of the Rat Colonies they need, and that's it. It could just be one person that bought them all, and if so, that's hilarious. Boltwave is already appearing to be a house in any burn deck, and of course it's going to be getting purchased because it's going to see play as far back as Modern is my guess. It saw a 41% decrease in listings, over 100 listings down from where it was prior to the sale. And the price is still like $2.50. Good card, and it seems like a bargain for the price based on the purchase volume. Scythecat Cub, a card that I was really hoping would drop down a little bit in price, just had a 40% decrease in listings. Luckily the price didn't change much for me, but I really want to pick up copies, and it's at 40 bucks right now. And I think that a $40 card with a 40% inventory decrease, it seems like it might need to buy it sooner than later. I like this card a lot though. I do need a copy of this card. Or like 8. Enduring Innocence saw over 160 listings purchased over the last 5 days. That's a 40% decrease, and the price did not change much at all. It's a $5 card right now. But this is like one of the best card draw engines inside Commander, inside like White Weenie decks. The card's really good. If it dies, it comes back. It's just like a better welcoming vampire. I love it. Great card, and auto included a ton of decks. If you want copies, I bought a bunch of copies of this months ago because I knew I was going to need it for decks. I think I have 9 or 10 of them in decks right now. Card's so good. Both versions of Blasphemous Edict saw close to 40% decreases in listings. Minor price changes. It's looking like it's like a $9 card right now. It's a good card, and I'd be looking at the extended arts because they're a little bit cheaper still at $6. A bunch of Surveil lands saw pretty good decreases in listings. Makes sense. It's a good time, like, oh, now that I get the 10% kickback, I'll just finish off my playset of each of them, or I'll grab my copies for my cubes or whatever. So some of them saw almost 40% decreases in listings, and you have similar things going on with the Verges. Similar inventory numbers. The top two were like 36% decreases in listings, but all of them saw a lot of movement due to the fact that people probably were just trying to complete their playsets. Both the regular and extended art Scrawl and Crawler saw 37% decreases in listings. It's still like a $3 card. It's a really powerful card. I like this one a lot. And so I can see this ticking up a little further in price. Leyline Axe, really unique effect, cool card. 36% decreases in listings, up to $4. Seeing good movement. Hair Appearance down like 100 listings, which seems low until you think about the fact that during this time frame, also a lot of cards are getting added back into the market. So all of these percentages are including taking out the new inventory that was put in during that time frame along with what was there previously. So it's actually a lot more copies getting eaten up than what the numbers really show. And with Heir Apparent, I feel like that's even higher because the card is moving a lot. It's a very expensive common, And so a lot of copies get opened and just immediately put in the market. And you need a lot of copies to build the deck. It saw a 35% decrease in listings. It's at $450 at the moment. Alchemist Talent's price did not change. However, it saw a 35% decrease in listings. Exemplar of Light, another life gain card that gets big, and this one also draws you cards, so it's even better. This card's actually really good, though. I like this card quite a bit. Doubled in price up to about $1.50, and had a 35% decrease in listings. Preacher of the Schism, great card in black and standard. Golgari, Dimir, just good card. Saw a 34% decrease in listings. Currently at about $3. Both versions of Bristly Bills saw over a 30% decrease in listings. And it's between $26 to like $33 for the extended art at this point in time. Price didn't really change much over the last 5 days. Both versions of Quilled Great Worm had a 31% decrease in listings with very minor price adjustments. You can still grab copies of the base version for under $5. Pact of Negation Borderless from Lord of the Rings saw over a 40% decrease in listings after having another almost 20% decrease in listings prior. Huge movement here. And it's still under $20. Great card, great for competitive commander, and a very limited printing. All versions of Argentum Armor are down to like 40 listings per copy, which is absurd because there was hundreds not too long ago. Every week it's just been like 20%, 20%, 20% off each individual version. Most recently, almost all of them had about a 30% decrease in listings. So those are massive numbers, and the price has not changed like at all. It's still like under $2. Fantastic Captain America include. Michiko Konda had another 53% decrease in listings, which followed up its 45% decreases in listings, which is both nutty numbers. However, the reason why is because of a really random rules change that happened with the card on Gatherer, but I believe it's been confirmed that it was an accidental change and it's going to be reverted. So if you have copies, dump them. You do not want them unless you're actually using the card in the deck already. I have it in one deck, but if you had copies that you're just lying around, now is the best time to sell them. Preston has gone up about $3 since the last time I mentioned him, and that was following up a 41% decrease in listings. This card is just very powerful. Any Blink deck, a Flicker deck wants this, and it's a combo piece in CEDH. Another Captain America card with Halvar, God of Battle. 40% decrease in listings here, so that's a big number. And it's up to $13. It was at like $11.50 prior. So this card's seeing a lot of movement. It's making those Kaldheim packs, so there's a little more juicy. Speaking of Kaldheim packs, the Realm box that's available right now, the Holiday Realm box, includes some Kaldheim packs and a collector booster of Kaldheim. Also Cold Snap, which is really cool, and some other goodies. Check that out, link in the description of this video. If you use code Dingus, you save 10%. Restless Cottage still hasn't seen much movement, like a $2.50 card, but it's seen a ton of sales. So many sales. The base version followed up its 38% decrease in listings with a 60% decrease in listings. And the Borderless had like back-to-back 25% decreases. Great card here, awesome in standard right now, and it's just moving fast. There's a few other cards that I'm going to mention here that also go into that same Golgari shell that is being played inside Standard, like Anoint with Affliction, which I've mentioned previously. That's about $1. The cheapest listing right now is like 30-something cents, but with shipping, it's like a little over $1 or whatever. And it just saw a 38% decrease in listings. Mosswood Dread Knight went up about $1 to $2.30, and it just saw a 37% decrease in listings. We have two different Glissas. Herald of Predation, $2 increase on a 31% decrease in listings. Pretty nice. It's at like $5.50. And the Glissa Sunslayer Step-In Complete Foil specifically had a lot of movement. Up $2, almost $7 now, for a 36% decrease in listings. Fairy Mastermind continues to sell at its new, much higher price point. Just at a 38% decrease in listings. Cheapest copy available right now is $19. All versions of Zur Eternal Schemer saw at least a 25% decrease in listings. The prices range from like $9 to $13. This card used to be bulk, like very, very, very bulk for a long time. And now it's starting to get a lot better. A lot of enchantment stuff going on in Standard. It's becoming a house. It's a good card. All versions of Shield of the Apocalypse saw a lot of movement. Funny enough, the Textured Foil saw the most movement at 33%. Prices have been pretty stagnant though, just like minor increases. Cut Down saw a 30% decrease in listings. This is a $4 uncommon, which is, you should pull that out of your bulk if you have some lying around. It's only expensive because it's standard. Hired Claw Showcase just had a 64% decrease in listings and like a 50-cent price increase. It's like $1.50. So if you need copies, you can still get them. It is a house inside standard, inside like aggressive decks, the lizard deck, stuff like that. Enduring Curiosity saw almost a 50% decrease in listings. Up over $1, it's at like $5 now. Card is very good. Biden Athasso is always a strong card in Commander. This is just way better. Unholy Annex is hot again, a 40% decrease in listings. This card's super good in Standard right now. Archfiend of the Dross decks love it. There's a lot of really good synergies for it in Standard. Manifold Mouse is still under $4 and just had a 34% decrease in listings. Sword of the Squeak is up $1, and on average over the last 2 times I did stats had a 28% decrease in listings. And Tranquil Frillback Extended Art had a 57% decrease in listings, which is a huge number. And this is a card from a set that was really under-opened. Up about $1.50 to $6.50. Now moving on to some cards that are moving up in price already. Thrumming Stone, I mentioned this one previously. The original version went up $10, almost $18 now. This is due to Heir Apparent. However, the other 2 versions haven't saw an increase in price yet, and over a 50% decrease in listings, so you still have time to buy your copies if you need them, you just can't get the Cold Snap version. A few Mana Foil cards have gone up drastically in price. One of them, which I mentioned in the previous video, had a 93% decrease in listings, and that's Alesha. 93%. There's only 2 copies on the market. We've never had one in the 90s prior to this on this series. That's crazy. A couple of Jumpstart cards have shot back up in price, being Rev and Ophelia. Rev's up to $63, which is a $17 increase. And Ophelia went up $7 to $55. Storm Chaser's talent went from $2 to $7, which is nutty, on the back of a 76% decrease in listings. That followed a 42% decrease in listings. This card is selling hard. 153 copies down to 36. That's a lot of sales. Wriggling Grub went from bulk to almost $4. Pretty cool. On the back of a 75% decrease in listings. The Chatterfang Raised Foil is almost $100 more expensive than it was previously. People really wanted to pimp out their Chatterfang decks, it seems like. And Parallax Tide went up almost $8, up to almost $18 at this point in time, after a 63% decrease in listings. I have no idea what warranted that. I don't know why that happened. If anyone knows anything about Parallax Tide here, let me know. I have no idea why it went up so much. Lastly, let's move on to Arcane Assets. Talk about how my portfolio is doing and talk about what cards I'm investing in. Arcane Assets, great way to prove how smart you are at the Magic market. And you can do it for free with prize support. New season just started. Best time to start in on Arcane Assets. The first place prize, whoever has the most money at the end of the season, which is about a month long, will win a Shieldred the Apocalypse Concept Praetor version, which is a card I did mention in this video. It is going up in price. Second place, a Bloodthirsty Conqueror Japan Showcase version, another one that is moving up in price. And Storm Force of Nature. I hope I get third place because I really want a copy of Storm so I can build that deck. But it's going to be hard for me to come in third place when all of my information about everything I'm buying is public for you guys to see. So you can also do what I do if you want to. Here's what my portfolio looks like at this point in time. I repurchased a Rabos because it's still way below what it should be based on what prices are going for a Rabo right now. It seems like free money. Lazotep Query and Planar Nexus, 2 other cards that I mentioned in this video. That's everything I have for this episode of Spicy Specs. Let me know what you're specking on, and I'll see you next time. Peace out, everybody.